Hello. Students, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
ఏమమ్మా రెస్పాండ్ అవర్ గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ అంటే రెస్పాండ్ అవర్ ఆడిబుల్ అంటే రెస్పాండ్ అవర్ ఎట్లా తల్లి
Good morning, ma'am.
గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ స్క్రీన్ షేర్
Good morning, madam. Yes, madam.
okay now we can go
Yes, ma'am. Share out.
yesterday we discussed what is meant by gravimetry and what are the steps which is involved in gravimetry, that which we discussed yesterday. Am I right? Nucleation, precipitation, filtration, washing, that which we discussed yesterday. Am I right? Those who attend for yesterday's class. Now we have to go for, once we get a precipitate, how can we dry that precipitate? And what is the ignition of the precipitate? How can we perform the ignition of precipitate? And what is co-precipitation and post-precipitation? That which we have to discuss it in today. Okay. So what is drying a precipitate? Yesterday I told you whatever may be the precipitate which is formed, that which we have to make it dry first. Then we should weigh the precipitate. Then we have to determine the amount of the substance, whatever it is present in the given solution. That is the actual process which is involved in gravimetric analysis. But in case of volumetric analysis, we have to estimate or we have to determine the substance, whether it may be a reducing agent or oxidizing agent. Simply we should find out it is the volume of the substance. From the volume, we have to estimate the concentration in the form of a molarity or normality. From molarity or normality or indirectly it is a concentration. From concentration, we have to find out it is the amount of the substance present in given volume, whether it may be a 1 liter or 500 ml or whatever it may be our requirement. So in case of gravimetric analysis, what we have to do, first we should convert the substance, whatever you want to go in, find out it from the solution, that which we have to convert into a precipitate. So that precipitate we have to filter it, dry it and weigh it. So at the last we can find out it the given substance, how much it may be present in a given solution. That is actual principle which is involved in gravimetry, that which we discussed in the study. So in that different steps, what we have to discuss in gravimetric is nucleation, which already finished, precipitation, filtration, washing. Up to that, yesterday we finished it. Now we have to go for drying of precipitate. How can we dry the precipitate? So once the precipitate is formed, then we have to filter the precipitate using conventional filter papers. Then we have to transfer the precipitate into a, whether it may be used a conventional dryers or electric dryers or air blow dryers. From that we have to dry the precipitate. Then how can we transfer that precipitate to dry the precipitate, that which we have to see. In the conventional method of filtration, using the conventional funnel and the quantitative filter paper, the funnel with the precipitate is placed in an air oven maintained at about 1100 degrees centigrade for a sufficient time. This results in the removal of water. So generally what we have to do is simply we have to transfer the precipitate into a filter paper. Quantitative filter paper, whatever we are using in the laboratory, that is nothing but a quantitative filter. That must be just like a white paper which is having a very small holes, but we want to visualize that hole in the filter paper. So in that, to that filter paper, we have to transfer the precipitate. Then we have to keep it the precipitate in a oven, to a long time, or to open air simply. On a table, you have to keep it, leave it to dry, or simply we should keep the precipitate into a dryer or an oven which is up to a maximum of 1100 degrees centigrade if you maintain it. Then complete water which has to be removed, which is present in the precipitate. So that is the way which we can generally dry out the precipitate, drying the precipitate simply. So whether we can keep the precipitate on a table in an ordinary filter paper for a long time or a number of hours we have to keep it, then it is completely removed water through the air. Or we can save the filter paper, we should keep it in a ovens to maintain a maximum of 1100 degrees centigrade. రెండు పద్ధతుల్లో మనం దాన్ని డ్రై చేయొచ్చు. ఫిల్టర్ చేసాము ప్రెసిపిటేట్ ని ఫిల్టర్ పేపర్ తో ఎలా ఫిల్టర్ చేసాము అనేది నిన్న చెప్పాను. ఫిల్టర్ ఒక పనెల్లోకి వేసేసి మొత్తం ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేస్తే పైన పార్ట్ ఫిల్టర్ పేపర్ పైన మనకు ప్రెసిపిటేట్ వస్తుంది. That precipitate we have to simply transfer into another filter paper using a glass rod. Glass rod ని తీసుకొని మెల్లగా దాన్ని ఇంకొక ఫిల్టర్ పేపర్ లోకి ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేయాలి. దాన్ని డైరెక్ట్ గా టేబుల్ మీద ఓపెన్ ఎయిర్ కి కొన్ని గంటలు పెట్టినా డ్రై అవుతుంది. లేదా ఆ ఫిల్టర్ పేపర్ అలాంగ్ విత్ ద ఫిల్టర్ పేపర్ యూ షుడ్ కీప్ ఇట్ ఇన్ ఓవెన్స్, ఎయిర్ బ్లో ఓవెన్స్ అంటారు. అక్కడ ఏమంటే హాట్ ఎయిర్ ని మాక్సిమం టెంపరేచర్ కి పంపిస్తే లోపల ఉన్న వాటర్ అంతా అబ్జర్వ్ చేసేసుకుంటారు. So simply we should get it a powder like substance. That way also we can dry the precipitate. Once it is dried, then only we have to weigh the substance. From that way, we should find out it how much based on composition of the compound, whatever we have taken in a solution, we should find out it the specific metal or a substance, whatever it is may be present in the solution. That the actual process of gravimetry. Then what is meant by ignition? Ignition of precipitate. The ignition temperature to be estimated first, depending on the following two facts. What is meant by ignition? Ignition means simply heating the precipitate is nothing but ignition. We have to remove all the dust particles or impurities, whatever it may be present, that which we have to remove it. So make it a heat. That precipitate is nothing but ignition. How can we ignite the precipitate? At what temperature if you heat it? We should know a particular temperature is the ignition temperature for precipitate. అది ఒక పర్టికులర్ టెంపరేచర్ వరకే మెయింటైన్ చేస్తేనే ప్రెసిపిటేట్ ఇగ్నైట్ అవుతుందంటే హీట్ అవుతుంది, కంప్లీట్ గా వాటర్ లేకుండా డ్రై అయిపోతుంది. అలా కాకుండా మనకి ఎక్కువ టెంపరేచర్ కో లేదా తక్కువ టెంపరేచర్ లో ప్రెసిపిటేట్ ని ఉంచాము అనుకోండి, లేదా హీట్ చేసాము అనుకోండి, ఎవాపరేట్ చేసినా కూడా వాటర్ ఎలిమినేట్ అవుతుంది ప్రెసిపిటేట్ లోంచి. 3 methods which we can use it to dry the precipitate. One is simply heating the precipitate, we can evaporate the water from that. Simply we can get it the precipitate as a dry form. Otherwise, keep the precipitate on a table for a long time to open air. Then also it is possible. Third method is we should keep the precipitate along with the filter paper on a air blow or air blowers. గాలిని పంపిస్తూ హీట్ చేస్తారు, అంటే వేడి గాలిని లోపలికి పంపిస్తే ప్రెసిపిటేట్ లో ఉండే వాటర్ పూర్తిగా హీట్ అయిపోయి ఎవాపరేట్ అయిపోతుంది. మిగిలేది ఏంటి మనకి పౌడరీ సబ్స్టెన్స్ మిగులుతారు. ఆ వేడి గాలిని పంపించినప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది, ప్రెసిపిటేట్ కూడా ఆటోమేటిక్ గా హీట్ అవుతుంది కదా. అది ఎంత వరకు హీట్ అవ్వాలనేది ఇగ్నిషన్ టెంపరేచర్ ఫర్ ద ప్రెసిపిటేట్. దట్ ఈస్ generally we have to maintain two ways or two aspects we should have to consider that when we want to ignite the precipitate. What are that? Whether the precipitate is only to be made free from all types of water in it without any change in the composition of the precipitate or without any decomposition of the precipitate. So what is the first condition is when we ignite, when we are going to dry the precipitate or allow that to dry the precipitate in a ovens or in any air blow containers, what we have to do is whatever may be the water which is present in the precipitate, that has to be ready to change. It is not supposed to change its composition in the precipitate, or it is not supposed to decompose the precipitate. మనం హీట్ చేసే టెంపరేచర్ ఏ టెంపరేచర్ అయితే పంపిస్తామో ఆ టెంపరేచర్ కి లోపల ఉన్న వాటర్ మనం ఏర్పరచుకున్న లేదా ఫామ్ అయినటువంటి ప్రెసిపిటేట్ డీకంపోజిషన్ అవ్వద్దు, వన్ థింగ్. అండ్ సెకండ్ థింగ్ is it is not supposed to change its composition. For example, if I prepare sodium chloride as a precipitate, for example, so when I heat the precipitate or if I maintain to dry the precipitate, if I heat maximum of 1100 or 1200 temperature to the precipitate to maintain the dryness, at that temperature sodium chloride, if it is ready to decompose, then there is no use of maintaining the or drying the precipitate, or it is not supposed to dry or decompose or simply not to change its composition. దాని యొక్క కాంపోజిషన్ మారదు, అంటే NaCl must be in the form of NaCl, not in the form of one water molecule or two water molecules, or simply in the form of Na plus and Cl minus, or it is not supposed to dissociate or decompose Na plus and Cl minus. ఈ condition first important. Ignition the precipitate means first we should maintain that the precipitate, whatever it is existing along with water, it is not supposed to decompose or it is not supposed to change its composition. That is the first aspect which we have to remember. Then second one, whether the precipitate is to be covered into another weighable machine, weighable form, whether the precipitate is to be converted into another weighable form. So whatever may be the precipitate, if you dry the precipitate, is it possible to transfer, is it possible to convert the precipitate into another weighing form, means another paper or weighing machine, wherever we want to weigh the substance, is it possible to transfer the substance? That is second aspect. Example, magnesium ammonium phosphate into magnesium pyrophosphate form. So when in such a type of precipitate, that is magnesium ammonium phosphate, actual compound which is formed is in the form of a magnesium ammonium phosphate as a precipitate. It can change its form as magnesium pyrophosphate once it ignites the precipitate. But even both are same in composition, but it is not supposed to decompose. ఇక్కడ మెగ్నీషియం అమోనియం ఫాస్ఫేట్ యాక్చువల్ గా ప్రెసిపిటేట్ ఏర్పడుతుంది. మనకు ఏర్పడిన ప్రెసిపిటేట్ ని మనం మెగ్నీషియం పైరోఫాస్ఫేట్ గా కన్వర్ట్ అయితే ఇగ్నైట్ చేసినప్పుడు, అంటే when we dry the precipitate or when we heat the precipitate to remove the water ని రిమూవ్ చేయడానికి ప్రెసిపిటేట్ లోంచి హీట్ చేస్తే అది మెగ్నీషియం అమోనియం ఫాస్ఫేట్ నుంచి మెగ్నీషియం పైరోఫాస్ఫేట్ కు మారినా కూడా ఒరిజినల్ కాంపోజిషన్ ఆఫ్ దట్ సబ్స్టెన్స్ వోంట్ బి చేంజ్. అలా ఉండాలి, అలా ఉంటేనే మనం ఇగ్నైట్ ద ప్రెసిపిటేట్ చేయగలం, లేదంటే చేయకూడదు. దట్ ఈస్ ద మెయిన్ కండిషన్స్ which we have to maintain to ignite the precipitate. Okay, ignition is carried out with filter paper. Simply, generally, we should carry out with filter paper. This is possible if C has no effect on the composition of the precipitate. C is nothing but concentration. This is possible only when concentration has no effect on composition of the precipitate. Sometimes ignition is to be carried out without filter paper. This is possible if concentration has no effect on the composition of the precipitate. Sometimes ignition is to be carried out without filter paper if concentration has an effect on the composition of the precipitate. So when we have to perform the ignition means only when concentration which is doesn't have any effect when we filter this precipitate. That is the main thing which we have to remember for ignite the precipitate or ignition of the precipitate. Understood? So that are main steps which we have to perform in gravimetric analysis. So nucleation, precipitation, filtration, drying, ignition the precipitate. 5 steps are included in gravimetric analysis. In any gravimetric analysis, that 5 steps which we have to follow. Then whatever may be the gravimetric analysis in general, whatever may be the compound which we are going to be estimate using gravimetric analysis, the basic form must be in the form of a precipitate. So what is the precipitate? Sometimes before we are going to be get a precipitate, we may find it some impurities are that present. That impurities which we have to remove it before we expect a precipitate. And some other times or some other experiments, once the precipitate is formed, that precipitate has a contact with impurities which is present in that solution. That is, in some cases which is also possible. ఇక్కడ ప్రెసిపిటేట్ ఏర్పడము అనేది కొన్నిసార్లు ఏమవుతుందంటే ఉండే ఇంప్యూరిటీస్ ని పూర్తి రిమూవ్ చేసినప్పుడు ప్రెసిపిటేట్ ఏర్పడుతుంది కొన్ని ఎక్స్పెరిమెంట్స్ లలో లేదా కొన్ని గ్రావిమెట్రిక్ అనాలిసిస్ లో. కొన్నిట్లలో ఏమవుతుందంటే ప్రెసిపిటేట్ ఏర్పడిన తర్వాత కూడా ఇంప్యూరిటీస్ అలానే ఉంటాయి, వాటిని మనం తీసేయాలి. తీసేస్తేనే మనకు ఒరిజినల్ ప్రెసిపిటేట్ వెయిట్ లేదా ఒరిజినల్ ప్రెసిపిటేట్ ని సపరేట్ చేయడానికి వస్తుంది. సో దేర్ ఆర్ 2 ప్రాసెస్ when we perform gravimetric analysis, or simply if you want to get a precipitate or if you want to estimate a substance in the form of a precipitate in gravimetric analysis, we have to follow 2 processes to remove the impurities, or whether they are existing with the precipitate or not existing with the precipitate, that which we can be explained with 2 processes. One is co-precipitation and the other one is the post-precipitation. This question is very, very, very important for our examination point of the semester question. It may be for short answer or it may be for essay question. We can't say that whether it is short answer or essay question. But in general, co-precipitation and post-precipitation is very, very important for the examination point. So what is meant by co-precipitation and what are the conditions for co-precipitation, how can we remove the impurities if it is existing? That which we have to see. The process by which soluble impurities become incorporated into precipitates during their formation is known as a co-precipitation. So, co-precipitation is nothing but impurities, whatever is present in the solution, that has to be soluble in the solution, which has to be incorporated. That means they are along with the precipitate during the formation of the precipitate. That is nothing but co-precipitation. Saha avakshepanamo antaru. వాటితో కలిసి ఉండేది సహచర్యము అంటే ఒకరితో కలిసి ఉండడం అని కదా. ఇక్కడ టర్మ్ అదే. Co-precipitation means along with the precipitate, they are also be present. That is nothing but co-precipitation. Completely they are soluble in the solution. They can be adjusted or incorporated with the precipitate. So that is nothing but a co-precipitation. So what is the conditions necessary for co-precipitation? When it is possible, what are the conditions? First one is the co-precipitated material must have the same crystal structure as the host crystal. So the co-precipitated material must have the same crystal structure as the host crystal. So co-precipitated material means that is the impurities, whatever it is there, that impurities, they are having the same crystal structure of the substance which is going to be formed as a precipitate in the solution. మనకి ఇక్కడ ఏంటి host crystal ఏంటి అంటే solution which is from which we are going to get a precipitate, that is, and the particles what they are going to be converted as a precipitate is a crystal structure which is already existing. And co-precipitated material means here it is a impurities. So impurities, whatever they are going to be incorporated with the precipitate, that they are having the same crystal with the substance which is ready to form as a precipitate. Solution లో ఉండే సబ్స్టెన్స్ ఏదైతే ప్రెసిపిటేట్ గా ఫామ్ అవుతుందో దానికి ఏ రకమైన క్రిస్టల్ స్ట్రక్చర్ ఉంటుందో ఆ క్రిస్టల్ స్ట్రక్చర్ ని ఇంప్యూరిటీస్ కూడా ఉండాలి. ఉంటేనే co-precipitation అనే ప్రాసెస్ జరుగుతుంది. దట్ ఈస్ ద ఫస్ట్ వన్. The co-precipitated ions must have an ionic radius not more than 10% of different from that to the replaced ions. So one more thing is, whatever may be the substance which is ready to form a precipitate, that precipitate what is we are going to be estimated or we are going to get it, that compounds precipitated ions must have an ionic radius. For example, sodium chloride is formed, whose ions are there, what, Na plus and Cl minus. That ions radius must be not more than 10%. It must be less than 10% if you replace with the any other impurity ions. ఇప్పుడు Na ప్లస్ Cl మైనస్ ఉన్నాయి, వాటి యొక్క రేడియస్ ఏంటి అంటే 10% కంటే ఎక్కువ ఉండద్దు. దేనితో నీకు అక్కడ ఇంప్యూరిటీస్ గా Ag ప్లస్ లేదా Ca ప్లస్ Mg2 ప్లస్ ఏవన్నా ఉన్నాయి అనుకోండి ఇంప్యూరిటీస్. If we are going to replace the impurities with the Na plus ions, radius of that impurities ions must be less than 10%. Then only it is possible for co-precipitation. That is second condition. The co-precipitated ions must not be very soluble, since less soluble salts co-precipitate by forming solid solutions to a greater extent than the more soluble ions. So in general, whatever may be the impurities which is existing as a incorporated with the precipitated ions, that are nothing but co-precipitated ions, they must be very soluble. Right? It's not supposed to be more soluble in solution. Very less amount of soluble if they are having, they are ready to incorporate the precipitate. That is the third condition for co-precipitation process. This is very, very important for the examination point of view. Next, procedures employed to minimize co-precipitation. So if, in general, if impurities are existing, then we can expect a co-precipitation process. So we have to minimize that co-precipitation. Otherwise, instead of a precipitate, we can expect a impurities as the precipitate. So that we should minimize the co-precipitation. How can we minimize? First thing, method of addition of two reagents. First method one is simply by adding two reagents which has to be removed. This can be used to control the concentration of impurities and the electric charge carried by the primary particles of the precipitate. So generally, if you add two reagents, they can maintain the concentration of the impurities simply by electric charge, by maintaining an electric charge of a primary particles of the precipitate. That is the first thing. Second one is washing. With cody and gelatinous precipitates, one must have an electrolyte in wash solution to avoid peptidization. So whatever may be the impurities which is present in the precipitate, that is incorporated with the precipitate. If you wash that simply in the form of a colloidal state, that is peptidization process, which we can remove the impurities. That is the way which we can minimize the co-precipitation process. Then next one is post-precipitation. A post-precipitation is the precipitation of an impurity after the main precipitate has been formed. That is the main difference. Post-precipitation means once the precipitate is formed, then we can find out the impurities in the precipitate. That means they are not directly incorporated with the precipitate. Co-precipitation low precipitate ఏర్పడేటప్పుడే impurities అందులో జాయిన్ అవుతాయి. పోస్ట్ ప్రెసిపిటేషన్ అట్లా కాదు, ఫస్ట్ ప్రెసిపిటేట్ ఏర్పడుతుంది, ఇంప్యూరిటీస్ ఏమైనా ఉంటే దాంతో కలిసి ఉంటాయి అంతే. We can easily remove the impurities from post precipitation process. That is the main difference. Post precipitation depends upon the following factors. What are the factors which affect the post precipitation? First one, increases with time. It increases with time. If you perform the more time for the precipitation process, then post precipitation is more. It increases at high temperature. If the temperature is very high, then we can expect the precipitate more in quantity. That is post precipitation process is more. It occurs whether contaminant causing post precipitation is added to liquid after or before the precipitate forms. This is third one. It occurs whether contaminated causing post precipitation is added to liquid after or before the precipitate forms. When we add any other substance to the precipitation process, that is post precipitation process, if it is in the form of a liquid either before or after precipitation, then also it increases the post precipitation process. This is the three conditions or three factors which affect the post precipitation. The example for post precipitation is calcium oxalate is precipitated from a mixture of calcium and magnesium and is allowed to be in contact with the mother liquid of longer period. Then the magnesium oxalate is precipitated gradually over calcium oxalate. So in this case, so when we precipitate the calcium oxalate from a mixture of calcium and magnesium, if you keep that precipitate, whatever it is formed, that is in this post precipitation process, if you keep it for a long time, then what we can observe it, magnesium oxalate is also formed as a is precipitated gradually over calcium oxalate. That means calcium oxalate is the actual precipitate which is formed. Magnesium oxalate is in the form of an impurity which has to be on calcium oxalate. Because of, if you keep the process or if you keep the post precipitation or the precipitate calcium oxalate, whatever it is formed for a long time, as the time increases, then post precipitation process increases. ఇక్కడ మనం కాల్షియం ఆక్సలేట్ ని కాల్షియం మెగ్నీషియం మిక్చర్ నుండి కన్నా నువ్వు ప్రెసిపిటేట్ చేస్తే ఫస్ట్ ఏం ఏర్పడుతుంది, కాల్షియం ఆక్సలేట్ ఏర్పడుతుంది. ఏర్పడిన దాన్ని ఇమీడియట్ గా రిమూవ్ చేస్తే పోస్ట్ ప్రెసిపిటేషన్ లో ఇంప్యూరిటీస్ అనేది రాదు. అలా కాకుండా ఏర్పడినప్పుడు ఇఫ్ యూ లీవ్ ఇట్ ఫర్ ఎ లాంగ్ టైం, కొంచెం టైం వదిలేస్తే ఎప్పుడేమవుతుంది, మెగ్నీషియం వాట్ ఎవర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ప్రెసెంట్ ఇన్ ద మిక్చర్ దట్ హ్యాస్ టు బి కన్వర్టెడ్ యాజ్ magnesium oxalate which can be deposited on calcium oxalate as an impurity. So that is nothing but a post precipitation. ఇక్కడ యాక్చువల్ గా కావాల్సింది మనకి కాల్షియం ఆక్సలేట్, కానీ మెగ్నీషియం కూడా మెగ్నీషియం ఆక్సలేట్ రూపంలో డిపాజిట్ అవుతుంది కాబట్టి దట్ ఈస్ ఇంప్యూరిటీ. సో ప్రాసెస్ విచ్ వి మెయింటైన్డ్, దట్ ఈస్ ఇంప్యూరిటీ విచ్ ఈస్ ఫార్మ్డ్ ఆఫ్టర్ ది ఫార్మేషన్ ఆఫ్ ఎ ప్రెసిపిటేట్. సో ఫస్ట్ కాల్షియం ఆక్సలేట్ ఏర్పడింది, సో ప్రెసిపిటేట్ ఫార్మ్ అయింది. ఏర్పడిన తర్వాత ఇంప్యూరిటీ వస్తుంది అని చెప్తున్నాం కాబట్టి దట్ ఈస్ నథింగ్ బట్ ఏ పోస్ట్ ప్రెసిపిటేషన్ ప్రాసెస్. Another example is zinc sulfide precipitates over copper sulfide. This is one more example for post precipitation. Next, determination of nickel. This is the actual thing which is included in your original semester practical also. Estimation of nickel using DMG, dimethyl glyoxide is one method, or back titration with EDTA. Both are included in your syllabus actually. So first one is determination of nickel ion using meroxide as indicator. As I told you, two types of indicators which we can use it for EDTA titration. One is idiochrome black tea and second one is meroxide indicator. Two types of indicators which we can use. Meroxide, generally, if we have to prepare the indicator freshly for EDTA titrations. But idiochrome black tea no need to prepare freshly. So we can store the indicator for a long time also. So in general, for practical purpose, we can use it idiochrome black tea indicator. But for the determination of nickel, we can use it meroxide indicator. How can we estimate nickel? Using a merox indicator. Then Na plus solution for estimation is made to be roughly decimolar. Meroxide can be used as an indicator. So decimolar means 0.1 or 0.2, that molar concentrated solution which we have to estimate it. In that we should use meroxide as an indicator. It is necessary to use a freshly made solution of meroxide in water because it can undergo oxidation very easily. So that we should prepare it freshly meroxide indicator by dissolving in water. So how can we perform the process? That is nothing but 25 ml of nickel 2+ ion solution to be estimated is diluted to 100 ml and 5 to 6 drops of the indicator and 10 ml of ammonia buffer solution that whose pH is around 7 is added. The buffer solution can be made by the addition of liquor ammonia to 1m ammonium chloride solution until the solution turns light yellow. So in general, if you want to estimate the nickel or zinc or copper or magnesium using EDTA, we have to maintain the pH, a constant pH we have to maintain it. That in that particular pH only we can be easily determine the metal ion, whatever it is present. Same way for nickel also, we should maintain a particular pH that is around 7 by simply adding a buffer solution. Generally, in titrometric analysis or a volumetric titration, this comes under volumetric titration, determination of nickel. So generally, we have to use it a buffer solution of ammonium chloride and ammonium hydroxide. We have to mix it with equal portion whose pH must be around 7. That only we have to use it as a buffer, ammonia buffer. Simply, how can we prepare that ammonia buffer means you should add ammonia, concentrated ammonia with 1m ammonium chloride, then shake it well. That solution must be the pH of 7, which can act as an ammonia buffer solution. So 25 ml of nickel +2 solution we have to take it. That we have to mark it into 100 ml or diluted to 100 ml. 25 ml is 100 ml standard flask water add cheyali. Then you should take it 25 ml now. Then we should add 5 or 6 drops of meroxide indicator and then 10 ml of ammonia buffer. Ammonia buffer, how can we prepare means simply you should take concentrated ammonia solution, that is ammonium hydroxide, add 1m ammonium chloride, shake it the solution until it becomes as a light yellow color. That is, now it has a pH of 7 for that ammonia buffer. Then the liquid mixture is titrated against 0.1 m EDTA in a period. So we have to prepare the EDTA, that is generally 327.73 molecular mass as EDTA, that is disodium salt of EDTA, which we have to use it, which we have to prepare it 0.1 m EDTA, that which we have to take it in a period. మనం తయారు చేసే EDTA 0.1 m molarity తో చేసుకోవాలి. అది కూడా డైసోడియం సాల్ట్ ఆఫ్ EDTA ని జనరల్ గా మనం ఉపయోగిస్తాం, డైరెక్ట్ EDTA ని వాడము, because it won't be available in a pure form. Sodium salt of EDTA which is available in the pure form, so we can use it as a primary standard. So we have to prepare that in the form of a 0.1 m EDTA, which we have to take it in a period and then titrate against a 25 ml of nickel +2 solution, which is present in the conical flask, by simply adding 5 or 6 drops of peroxide indicator and 10 ml of buffer. That is, near the end point, 10 ml of strong ammonia is added and the titration continued. This is no need to add actually ammonia because we are adding simply buffer, which is in the pH of a 7. It's not exactly 7, it's above the 7 actually, which is having. So that pH is more than enough to titrate with EDTA. If we won't get any end point, simply we have to add it few drops of 2 to 3 ml of ammonia. Otherwise, no need to add ammonia in this case. End point is indicated by the color change yellow to blue violet. So what is the end point means when we add peroxide indicator to the nickel solution in presence of a buffer, solution is yellow in color. So at the end point, what we have to do, bluish violet. That is nothing but blackberry color. నేను ప్రతిసారి చెప్తుంటా మనకు నేరేడు పళ్ళు బయట దొరుకుతాయి కదా, సైడ్ కు ఆ సీడ్ ఫ్రూట్ ని ఒక సైడ్ కి లైటింగ్ పెట్టి చూస్తే ఒక రకమైన వైలెట్ బ్లూ కనిపిస్తుంది మనకు. ఆ కలర్ నే మనం ఇక్కడ బ్లూ వైలెట్ అంటాం. Blue violet, which we have to get it, that is the end point. Near end point, the addition of the reagent must be slow, drop by drop with the shaking. కొంచెం మనకు ఒక డ్రాప్ వేస్తున్న కలర్ ఎప్పుడైతే ఐడెంటిఫై అవుతుంటుందో వైలెట్ కలర్ వస్తుందని, slowly we should stop, shake the solutions completely, drop by drop we should add it and then find out into the end point. The nickel plus 2 ions can be estimated from the relationship as 1 ml of 0.1 m EDTA is equal to 5.87 grams of nickel plus. Ikkada how much EDTA which is utilized to titrate nickel of 25 ml of nickel, that which we have to find out it. Then for example 20 ml of EDTA, 1 ml of EDTA which we can get it 5.87 grams of nickel. For example 20 ml of EDTA if it is utilized, then how many grams of nickel which is present? We can calculate using this formula. ఈ రేషియోలో నికెల్ ఉంటుంది. 1 ml 0.1 m EDTA కి 5.87 grams of నికెల్ యూటిలైజ్ అవుతుంది. సో ఒకవేళ నాకు 20 ml యూటిలైజ్ ఉంది అనుకున్నాము, 20 ml కి ఎంత అనేది we have to calculate. This is one method. And another method is determination of nickel using heliochrome black tea as indicator by back titration. This is second method. Two methods లో మనం నికెల్ ఎస్టిమేట్ చేస్తాం. Two methods ఉన్నాయి మీకు ప్రాక్టికల్. One method లో peroxide indicator, second method లోనేమో heliochrome black tea indicator. ఇక్కడేమో డైరెక్ట్ గా EDTA తో టైట్రేట్ చేస్తున్నాం. ఇక్కడ ఏం చేస్తామో చూడండి. Solutions what we need is the following solutions are prepared. Once again 0.1 m EDTA solution, heliochrome black tea indicator solution. Next buffer ammonia chloride with pH of 10, 0.1 m nickel ammonium sulfate solution. This is so we have to need 4 solutions: 0.1 m EDTA, heliochrome black tea indicator, ammonia buffer, and 0.1 m nickel ammonium sulfate solution. If we had all these 4, then we can perform a back titration. Back titration in this case means directly we are not supposed to titrate nickel with EDTA as what we perform just now with peroxide indicator. Peroxide indicator తో ఏం చేసాం, నికెల్ ని తీసుకొని డైరెక్ట్ గా ఇండికేటర్ వేసి బఫర్ యాడ్ చేసి EDTA తో టైట్రేట్ చేసినాం. దట్ ఈస్ డైరెక్ట్ టైట్రేషన్. ఇండైరెక్ట్ టైట్రేషన్ ఇస్ నథింగ్ బట్ బ్యాక్ టైట్రేషన్. ఇన్ దట్ డైరెక్ట్లీ వీఆర్ నాట్ సపోజ్ టు టైట్రేట్ విత్ EDTA. EDTA తో డైరెక్ట్ గా నికెల్ ని టైట్రేట్ చేయము హీలియోక్రోమ్ బ్లాక్ టీ ఇండికేటర్. మరి ఏం చేస్తాం, ఫస్ట్ జింక్ ఈక్వల్ వాలెన్సీ ఉండే ఒక మెటల్ క్యాటయాన్ తో చేస్తాం ఫస్ట్. Like zinc sulfate, magnesium sulfate, which metal is having same valency with nickel. Nickel +2, zinc also +2, magnesium also +2. So we should titrate the EDTA with zinc sulfate or magnesium sulfate. Then whatever indicator which is utilized for to titrate magnesium sulfate or zinc sulfate, that which we have to use it with nickel. That is nothing but a back titration. ఇక్కడ జరిగేది ఏంటంటే డైరెక్ట్ గా టైట్రేషన్ చెయ్యం. ఫస్ట్ ఇండైరెక్ట్ గా ఇంకొక సబ్స్టెన్స్ ఎస్టిమేట్ చేసి అక్కడ ఉపయోగించబడే EDTA ని నికెల్ ఉపయోగిస్తారు. దట్ ఈస్ నథింగ్ బట్ బ్యాక్ టైట్రేషన్. ఎలా చేస్తారో చూడండి ఇక్కడ. దట్ మీన్స్ సింప్లీ వీ షుడ్ యాడ్ నికెల్ అండ్ జింక్ సల్ఫేట్ ఆర్ మెగ్నీషియం సల్ఫేట్ వన్ మోర్, దెన్ టైట్రేట్ అగైన్స్ EDTA. జింక్ కి EDTA ఎంత ఉపయోగపడుతుంది, నికెల్ కి ఎంత ఉపయోగపడుతుంది, టోటల్ EDTA ని క్యాల్కులేట్ చేస్తాం. దాంట్లో నుంచి జింక్ సపరేట్ గా ఎంత ఉపయోగపడుతుందో టైట్రేట్ చేసి తీసేస్తే మిగిలినది నికెల్. ఇప్పుడు నేను జింక్ 10 ml తీసుకున్నా, EDTA 10 ml తీసుకున్నా, నికెల్ 10 ml తీసుకున్నా, 20 ml. Titrate against EDTA with heliochrome black tea. I got it some 20 ml of solution ki 18 ml of EDTA utilize అయింది. But 18 ml which is not supposed to use for the titration of nickel or not supposed to use for the titration of a zinc. రెండు ఉన్నాయి కాబట్టి ఇప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తానంటే సెకండ్ టైం ఓన్లీ జింక్ సొల్యూషన్ విత్ 20 ml or 10 ml titrated against EDTA. అక్కడ ఎంత యూటిలైజ్ అయిందో వస్తుంది కదా. 10 ml తీసుకున్నా నేను, 10 ml కి 8 ml ఉపయోగపడింది. సో 8 ml EDTA which is utilized for zinc. And then for 20 ml of solution which contains 10 ml nickel and 10 ml zinc, which is utilized 18 ml. So 18 ml లో 8 ml zinc కు యూటిలైజ్ అయింది, రిమైనింగ్ 10 ml నికెల్ కు ఉపయోగపడింది. With that 10 ml I have to estimate it zinc. అండర్స్టూడ్? అర్థమవుతుందా? డైరెక్ట్ గా నికెల్ ని టైట్రేట్ చేయరు ఇరియోక్రోమ్ బ్లాక్ టీలో. ఇది నేను మళ్ళీ మీకు రేపు క్లాస్ లో మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తాను ఎలా చేస్తారని. 2 సొల్యూషన్స్ తీసుకుంటాం, రెండింటిని టైట్రేట్ చేస్తాం, ఫైనల్ వాల్యూమ్ రీడౌట్ చేస్తాం. చేసిన తర్వాత ఏం చేస్తారంటే అందులో నుంచి జింకా నికెల్ ఏది ఉపయోగిస్తున్నామో దాని కాంబినేషన్ లో జింక్ సల్ఫేట్ విత్ నికెల్ సల్ఫేట్ వాడామనుకోండి, జింక్ సల్ఫేట్ సపరేట్ వీ హావ్ టు టైట్రేట్ ఇట్ విత్ EDTA వన్ మోర్ టైం. ఆ వాల్యూమ్ ఎంత యూటిలైజ్ అయిందో మనకి ఇక్కడ నికెల్ ప్లస్ జింక్ తీసుకున్నప్పుడు వచ్చే వాల్యూమ్ లో నుంచి సబ్ట్రాక్ట్ చేస్తాం. వచ్చే వాల్యూమే నికెల్ యూటిలైజ్ అయ్యింది అని ఎస్టిమేట్ చేస్తాం. దట్ ఈస్ ద ప్రాసెస్ విచ్ వీ హావ్ టు సీ. చూడండి ఇక్కడ ప్రాసెస్ టు 25 ml of nickel ammonium sulfate, 35 ml of 0.1 m EDTA solution is added slowly from the burette. The solution is diluted to about 200 ml by adding distilled water. 4 ml of buffer solution and few drops of indicators are added. The remaining excess of EDTA is titrated with standard 0.1 m zinc sulfate or magnesium sulfate solution until the color changes from blue to wine red. ఇక్కడ 25 ml నికెల్ తీసుకుంటాం, రిమైనింగ్ సో 35 ml of EDTA తో టైట్రేట్ చేస్తున్నాం అంటే solution in the conical flask or titrating flask must be 35 ml. So 25 ml is nickel ammonium sulfate. Remaining 10 ml must be a zinc sulfate or magnesium sulfate. Anyone. That which we have to take it in a conical flask which has to be titrated against EDTA. And the end point is by simply adding 2 or 3 drops of ireochrome black tea indicator and 4 ml of buffer solution. Now we have to titrate against EDTA. End point is nothing but blue to wine red. The nickel EDTA complex reacts with the indicator very slowly in presence of an excess of EDTA and hence the titration is carried slowly. A fairly stable complex forms as soon as the end point is reached. That is back titration. Directly we are not going to perform the titration with the EDTA with ireochrome black tea indicator. That is main thing. With miroxide we can directly titrate it, but for ireochrome black tea which is not possible to titrate with EDTA. This is regarding nickel, determination of nickel in both methods, direct method and indirect or back titration method. The back titration method is once again it is a volumetric titration only. Both the methods which we can perform it in the laboratory. రెండు మీకు ఉన్నాయి సిలబస్ లో యాక్చువల్ గా. జనరల్ గా ఏంటంటే సెకండ్ మెథడ్ నే వాడతాం, ఇరియోక్రోమ్ బ్లాక్ టీ ని generally preferable because indicator which we can be stored for a long time compared to miroxide indicator. Miroxide indicator if you have to prepare it very freshly to perform any experiment. అది ఉపయోగించాలి అంటే ఫ్రెష్ గా అప్పటికప్పుడు రెడీ చేసుకొని తయారు చేసుకొని చేసుకోవాలి, లేకపోతే పని చేయాలి. So that we should go for the back titration for the estimation of nickel. So with this we can finish theory of qualitative analysis lesson. From my side I finished my syllabus. Okay, regarding these lessons notes I will send you PPT once again, and important questions after 1 week I will post you, because anyhow for you it's a first semester exams only from 8th onwards I think so. 8th or 11th, 8th or 11th నుంచి ఉన్నట్టు.
10 ma'am. 10 ma'am. 13th ma'am.
13. Okay, whenever it may be.
Ma'am, environmental science means
it's completely related with the general topic మా సైన్స్ ఉంటది, దాంట్లో ఆర్ట్స్ కు సంబంధించి ఉంటది. కాకపోతే సైన్స్ ఫ్యాకల్టీనే చెప్తారు మీకు, అంటే పొల్యూషన్ ఏంటి, ఎలక్ట్రికల్ ఎనర్జీ ఏంటి, సోలార్ ఎనర్జీ